All right, this is Obaid on behalf of American Income Life, and today we'll be filling out our family information guide. Okay, so this guide is part of your no-cost benefits. Okay, the documents that you will need to fill in to get your no-cost benefits, which covers your freedom of choice certificate. All right, so let's go ahead and fill this out. Okay, so to start off with, vital stats, you will need to know your first and last name as it shows up on your government piece of ID. So let's say your first name, okay, this is XYZ, okay, and the last name over here, this is YZZ, okay, and once again, this is your first and last name on your government ID, such as your driver's license. Okay, make sure it matches your driver's license so that there is no delay when it comes to approving your claim. All right, your birthday. So let's say your date of birth, as it shows up on your driver's license, is 10/10/1975. Okay. Place of birth, let's say this is Canada, and social security number. Say this is 537-629-296. Okay. We'll also need to know the location for your documents, such as your birth certificate. All right. This is so that your family member can access it in case something happens to you. And in case the insurance company does need more information for claim approval. All right. So let's say the birth certificate is in the walk-in closet of your family residence. Okay. All right. Okay. So that's about it. Okay. For your social security number, make sure this is a 9-digit number that shows up on your SIM card, your social insurance number card. Okay. And this is what the birth certificate looks like. Okay, this one is for Canada. The other one is for USA. Okay, next we'll need your email address. Let's say this is PTLB 142 or 3 rather at gmail.com. Okay. Now make sure you give us an email address that you're able to access. Okay, so make sure you're able to access your email address. Make sure you have the correct credentials to access your email. Okay, and make sure you have enough room in your inbox for you to receive emails. Okay. Phone number. Okay, so let's say your phone number is 437-990-0000. Okay, city. Let's say this is Brampton. Okay, Ontario. And your zip code. Okay, let's say the zip code is L6, R is in radio, 2 kilo 8. Okay. All right. So if you're not quite sure what your postal code is, you may use the Canada postal code lookup tool to figure out what your postal code is. You may also use your utility bill to check your address and your postal code if you did move to a new residential location. Okay, and to find your phone number, you check if you're registered. You can also check 411.ca. All right. Now, employment status. Okay, further down, you'll need to tell us whether you're employed or retired. Okay, so let's say you're employed for the sake of this application. And let's say the name of your employer is XYZ Transportation. All right. You'll also need to tell us what the name of the supervisor is at work. Okay, so let's say this is GGG UUY. Okay, the address for your work location. Okay, so let's say this is 123 Business Drive. Okay, the city says Brampton. Okay, Ontario, and postal code. This is L6R4 Kilo 9. Okay. You'll also need to provide us your phone number. Okay, this is the phone number for your workplace. It can be a phone number to reach your HR, your supervisor, or anyone at your workplace. Okay, so let's say his phone number is 647-888-0000. Okay, and once again, this is to verify your employment information. All right, now, if you're not quite sure what your phone number is, or the phone number for your workplace is, the one that the insurance company can use to reach your employer, you may request an employment verification letter, okay, from your employer. And this verification letter may or may not have the phone number, but you can always give your employer a call and request them to put down their phone number on the verification letter. Okay, so that is your verification letter. Okay, and to find the address and the postal code for your work location, you can use Yellow Pages, or you can use your Canada postal code lookup tool. All right. Now, because there is underwriting involved when it comes to claim payments, we'll also need any additional information that might impact the risk factor for your policy. Okay. So if you work with machinery at your work, you need to tell us that you work as a machine operator, okay, and worked with so and so machines. Okay, now apart from that, if you work here part-time, you'll need to let us know that you work here part-time. So let's say I am a part-time employee, all right, at this location. All right, so that's about it for that one. Further down, you have your vital stats for your spouse. Okay, this is your partner. Now, for your spouse, once again, you may use a government piece of ID to verify the first and last name, as well as the address. Okay, so over here, suppose you're married. Okay, you'll need to type in the first name of your spouse. So let's say this is KKK LLA. Okay, so this is your last name, and the last name goes over here. Okay, your date of birth for your spouse. So this is October 4, or you can just say 04 10, okay, 1979. Okay, place of birth. Let's say this is USA. Your social security number for your spouse. Okay, so let's say this is 537-898-1234. Okay, all right. So to verify the birth location, you may use your birth certificate for your spouse. Okay, just like you used yours to verify your birth location. Okay. Next, you have veterans information. Okay, so moving further down, the next section is veterans information. So for this section, you will need your service number. Okay, now your service number can be found on your veterans card. Okay, so for Canada, okay, this is your veteran service card. This is what it looks like. Okay, and if you're not quite sure what your service number is, or if you're not quite sure of any of the other information in this section, you may always call the toll-free number for Veterans Affairs, okay, which is 1-866-522-2122. All right. So let's start off with the service number. Okay. So for this example's sake, let's say the service number is 898-765-437. Okay, further down you have your branch of service. So let's see, your branch of service is Navy. Okay, name of the war that you were enlisted for. So let's say this is YZZ War. Your enlistment dates. Okay, so let's say this is 2002 to 2020. Okay. Place of enlistment. Okay, so this is Vancouver, BC. Okay, and place of discharge. So assume that this is Vancouver, BC as well. Okay, if you're not quite sure, once again, you may call Veterans Affairs to find out your place of enlistment as well as your place of discharge. Okay, your rank at discharge. So this is corporal. Okay, and next you need your VGLI policy number. Okay, so this is your group life insurance policy number for veterans. Okay, and once again, if you're not quite sure, you may always call the toll-free number for Veterans Affairs. Okay, so we'll leave this one blank for now. Okay, discharge papers. So for your documents relevant to your discharge, you'll need to tell us whether they're at home or whether they're somewhere else. Okay, so just in case something happens to you, your family member or somebody else should be able to access those documents. All right, for underwriting purposes. So let's say this is at home, at your family residence. All right, your policy amount. Okay, so let's say this is 1,200,000. And the location. All right. So this would be, okay, the location for your documents. Okay. So let's say walk-in closet, okay, or family residence. All right. Okay, and again, if you're not quite sure of any of this information, you may always call Veterans Affairs. Okay, further down, you have persons to be notified. Okay, your family notification list. So in case something happens to you, the insurance company needs to know who we can contact, who we can get in touch with. Okay, so let's say the main contact over here. This is X, X, Y, Y, Z, Z. Okay, and the relationship. Let's say this is your dad, your father. Okay, significant other. Let's say this is XXS. Okay, Y, Z, Z. Phone number, let's say the phone number is 905-628-1298. And the city, let's say the city is Brampton, Ontario. And the postal code is L7R 2L9. Okay, so that is your main contact. Okay, somebody that the insurance company can reach in case something happens to you or emergency. All right. Further down, you have your sibling. Okay, so let's assume that this is RRS, YZZ, the name of your sibling, relationships. So let's say this is your brother. Okay, significant other. Okay, YYZ, YZZ. Okay, same last name. Okay, phone number. Let's say this is 905-678-8888. Okay, city. Let's say this is Brampton. Okay, and state. This is Ontario. Zip code. This is L8R. Okay, 2LO. Okay. Now further down, this is going to be MMN, YZZ. Let's assume that this is your cousin. Okay. Significant other, DDD, YZZ. Okay. Phone number, let's say this is 905-888-1298. City and province, let's assume this is Brampton, Ontario. Okay. And let's say the postal code is Lima 8 Radio. So this is Lima 8 Radio 2S0. Okay. All right. And finally, let's say this one is your uncle. Okay. So let's say this is HHH. You know what? Same last name, YZZ. Relationship. Let's say this is your uncle. Significant other for your uncle. Let's say this is YYY, YYZ. Okay, phone number that the insurance company can use to reach your uncle. So let's say this is 905-899-9900. Okay. City, let's say this is Brampton. State, assume that this is Ontario. And your postal code, let's assume that this is L6R 3L9. Okay. Okay, so any additional emergency contacts. Okay, so this could be your friend, your neighbor, your coworker. So let's say this is your friend over here, XYY, YZZ. In relationship, this friend, this is a coworker. Okay, significant other, this is YT, YCC. Okay, and your phone number is 905-868-1234. Okay, city, this is Toronto. Province is Ontario. The zip code is M5G2C4. Okay, another emergency contact. Let's say this is UY. Okay. O. Let's say this person is your friend. Okay. And the significant other. Let's say this is OOO. Okay. Let's give this YCC. Okay. Same last name as significant other. Phone number. This is 905-129-9999. Okay. City. Let's say Toronto. Okay. Ontario. And zip. This is M5G 2H7. Okay. Next, you can list your neighbor. Say OP, PPP, relationship. So let's assume this is your neighbor. Okay. Significant other. This is UI, OPP. Okay. Phone number. This is 647-786-1234. City is Toronto. This is Ontario. And zip code is M9W3S1. Okay. All right. So that's about it for your notification list. And once again, if you're not quite sure what the postal code is, or if you're not quite sure what the new address is for any one of these contacts, you may use Yellow Pages 411.ca or your Canada postal code lookup tool. Okay. All right. Let's move on to trust. Okay. Now, by definition, trust is an organization that will take care of your policyholder's estate after his death. Okay, so if something happens to the policyholder, your trust, whether your inter vivo trust or your testamentary trust, will take care of the estate of your policyholder. Okay, when I say take care, they will keep the estate, manage the estate. They will transfer properties within the estate. Okay, let's say from real estate to cash for distribution amongst your beneficiaries. Okay. And they'll do this until your beneficiaries are the age of majority. Okay. Or whenever it is that you want your estate to be passed on to your beneficiaries. All right. So by definition, a trustee is a person who manages the property held in the trust for distribution amongst the beneficiaries. Okay. Um, some of the advantages of using a trust: to reduce your tax liabilities, elimination of certain fees like probate fees, right? Because should you have an estate and if you haven't assigned a trust for your estate, okay, all your assets will go to your estate after you pass away and will sit inside your estate. And it will lead to probate fees, legal fees, so on and so forth. Okay, and that's the reason why naming a trust can save you from all that hassle. All right. Um, let's see. Okay. So let's go ahead and fill this out. First things first, we'll need the location of your trust. Okay, so trust location. Okay. So let's say this is your RBC Royal Trust. Okay. So let's say 155 Bellington Street West. Okay. Last update. Okay, so any changes that you made to your estate. So if you did add any assets to your estate, any vehicles or real estate property, so on and so forth. This is your last update. So let's say this is last year, okay, when a vintage car was added to the estate. Okay, so this is your last update. Your trustee, okay, so let's say this is XYZ YSS at RBC Royal Trust. Okay. All right. So one of the agents working at the RBC Royal Trust. Phone number, let's say this phone number is 647 999 0000. City, let's say this is Toronto. Ontario. Your attorney, let's say this is your lawyer. Okay. YZZ TTT. Okay. And the firm. This is your attorney's firm. So assume that this is XYZ law firm. Okay, phone number. So your phone number will be the phone number for your trust. Okay, let's say this is 416 123 3333. Okay, city and state. So this is Toronto, Ontario. Okay. Okay. All right. So further down, we'll need information on your will location. So let's say your will is at your family residence. It could also be with your lawyer, with your attorney. Okay, so let's say this is safety, or you can say, again, walk-in closet, okay, of my family residence. Okay. Any last updates to your trust, okay, or your will in this case? Okay, so let's say any changes that you made to your will, okay, added a new beneficiary last year. Okay, your executor. Okay, so by definition, the executor is responsible for liquidating your estate. In case you need to pay off your creditors, you need to pay off your loans or your tax liabilities. Okay. So once again, by definition, an executor is the person appointed by the testator to execute a will. Okay. So let's say this is YYY PPP. Okay. If this person is related to you, you'll need to type in the relationship. Okay. So let's say this is a distant relative. Okay. Phone number. Let's say the phone number is 416 842 2000. All right. City and state. So this is Toronto, Ontario. Okay, your lawyer or attorney. So let's say this is say TTT PPT. Okay, first and last name. firm. Let's say this is OTT Legal. Okay. Phone number. Let's say this is 905. Oh, you know what? Never mind. Let's use 416-234-9999. Okay. Your city and state. Let's say this is Toronto. That's the reason why you use 416. Okay. All right. So this is basically how you fill out this section. All right. Um, and this is not the official copy of your will. Okay. This is just a document that will get all the information that we need to produce the official copy of your will. And this will be done via CanadaWills.com. All right. So moving further down, you have your insurance policies. So any other insurance policies that you might have with any other company, okay, any other insurance company. So let's say you have a health and disability policy, okay, with, okay, Manulife. All right. Also need to type in your policy number. Okay, now you may find your policy number on your policy summary page. You can always request your insurance company to provide your policy number to you. Okay, either via email or your phone. Okay, so let's assume this policy number for this example sake is 742-845, okay, 699. Okay, coverage. So let's say this is term 10 or, okay, coverage amount and type. So let's say this is $250,000, okay, and individual coverage. Okay, so individual disability policy. All right. Further down, you have any other health and medical policies that you might have. So we'll leave this one blank. Okay, for life insurance, if you have a group life insurance policy, you'll need to type your policy number in here. So let's say this is for Canada Life, and your policy number is 742-845-693. Okay, so that's your policy number for Canada Life. And let's say this is a term policy. Okay, coverage amounts, let's say around $250,000. And term expiration date. Okay, so the date when your term policy will expire, if you're not quite sure, you may always give your insurance company a call. All right, so let's say this is 10/20/2024. All right. Okay, so moving further down, you have your social media accounts. Okay, so this is what your benefit card looks like for your insurance policy. Okay, your statement of insurability, your health and life insurance application form. Okay, so moving further down, you have your social accounts. Okay, now for your social accounts, legacy contact, legacy by definition is a gift by will, especially your money or other personal property. Okay, this could be for your beneficiary. It could be for somebody you know. Okay, so if your social accounts have any monetary value, okay, suppose you have a Facebook business page, okay, or a LinkedIn business account, you'll need to type in a username and password, okay, that can be used to access your account, and this is for your beneficiary, okay. So let's say your username Okay, let's say this is your email address, etlb143@gmail.com, and your password. Okay, let's say 123456. Okay, your recovery email address. So if you're not able to access your account, if your beneficiary is not able to access your account, you have a recovery email address. You'll need to type that in over here. So let's say this is xxx@gmail.com. All right. Your social accounts legacy contact. Okay. So let's say the name of the person who's the beneficiary of your social accounts. So let's say this is YYY. Why is that? Okay. So should you have a Twitter account or a Facebook account, you'll need to type in the credentials for both, as well as your Instagram accounts. Okay. All right. Okay. Further down, you have your funeral instructions. Okay. Now, for funeral, you have three options. First one is burial, second one is cremation, and the third one is mausoleum. All right. So for burial, basically, the body's buried in a casket, right, or a coffin, which goes underground in a cemetery plot or a burial plot. For cremation, the body's burned in ashes, mostly in a funeral home or another place, and the ashes are either kept at home by the family of the life insured, or the person who passed away, or they're spread out in a water body, such as the ocean, river, lake, so on and so forth. The mausoleum is more like a pyramid. Okay, it is a structure that is used to um, keep dead bodies, mostly in a cemetery plot. Okay, the body will go inside a crypt, and the crypt will go inside a chamber in a mausoleum. Okay, sometimes there are more than one bodies in a chamber, but once the chamber is sealed, okay, nobody moves the body unless they need to relocate the body. Okay, so that is your mausoleum. All right, so let's go ahead with this one as well. Fill this out. Let's say this is your burial. Okay, funeral home. Okay, let's say this is Brampton Funeral Home and Cemetery. Okay, all right. Um, Church denomination. Okay, so okay, this is what the coffin looks like. Okay, these are your grave markers for your grave. Okay, this is a tombstone. All right. So when it comes to tombstones, tombstones are pretty expensive. Okay, they can go all the way up to 20K plus minus. So should there be an issue trying to fund your funeral arrangements, okay, you do have the option of getting a freedom of choice certificate. Okay, as part of your policy with American Income Life. And this certificate will cover all your funeral expenses. Let's say um, somebody passes away. Okay, as we know, funeral business is just like any other business. Okay, so when your family member walks up to the funeral director will ask for money up front for all the necessary expenses. And this is when you want to put your family at ease by giving them your freedom of choice certificate. Right? So that way your funeral arrangements can be taken care of without delays. All right. So this is your mausoleum. Okay. So name of the funeral home. Let's say this is Brampton Funeral Home and Cemetery. Okay. Church denomination. So this is to figure out whether you're Catholic or Protestant. So let's say this is Catholic. All right. Okay, now chapel. Now chapel can be a place of worship or a room where funeral services are held. Okay, so you'll need to type in the name of the chapel. So let's say this is XYZ chapel. All right. Okay, minister. Okay, by definition, okay, um, any other member of the church apart from the pastor who carries out some of the duties of a pastor. Okay, so let's say the minister is XYZ LLL. Okay, mass, we'll say yes over here. Okay, rosary is mostly the solemn chanting. It's also part of the ceremony, the funeral ceremony. Okay, so should you require a rosary, put a cross mark right beside yes. Okay, and moving further down, you have your service. Okay, so we need to know whether the funeral is taking place in a church, whether you require funeral home services, or whether the funeral is taking place in a private house or a private property. Okay, so let's say this is funeral home. Okay, and this is what a funeral home looks like. Okay, this is a funeral home. Okay, many funeral homes also sell coffins. Okay, so should you need the services of a funeral home, you need to let us know the name and the location of that funeral home. So let's say this is Brampton Funeral Home and Cemetery. Okay, and the location, if you're not quite sure, you may also use 411.ca or Canada Post postal code lookup tool to figure out the location of the address. You can also Google your address. So let's say this is at 123 Funeral Service Drive. Okay, Brampton, Ontario. All right. So, okay, 123 Funeral Service Drive. Phone number is 905-123-1234. All right. City, let's say this is Brampton. The province, assume this is Ontario. Okay. Your zip code. Okay, zip code for the funeral home service. So let's say your funeral home is at L71G6. Okay. Now, once the funeral service is taken care of, okay, we'll need to know the name and the location of the cemetery. Okay, if your body is being buried. Okay, so let's say this is um, a different cemetery than the one listed above. Let's say you place the reservation at this cemetery. So Mount Pleasant Cemetery. Okay, let's say the address is 375. This will be Mount Pleasant Road. Okay, phone number. Let's say this phone number is 416-855-2290. City will be Toronto. So obviously the cemetery is in Toronto. The state, this is Ontario. The zip code, let's say this is M14 to Van 8. Okay. So next, you'll need to tell us whether you have reservations. Let's say I have reserved facilities. Okay, now especially true of veterans, okay, because there are many sites for veterans where you cannot make reservations because you're national cemeteries. Okay. So suppose further down you're a veteran and you choose a national cemetery, you'll need to provide us with the location of the cemetery. Okay. So whether it's national, state, or private. So let's say location. This is 123 Cemetery or National Cemetery Drive. Okay, Toronto, Ontario. All right. And the postal code, let's say this is L6R. You know what? Give me one moment. M4T 2V8. Okay. All right. Now, since we mentioned the freedom of choice certificate, you need to let us know whether you want your final expenses and arrangements to be taken care of via your freedom of choice certificate. Okay, so let's say this is yes. We'll put a cross mark right beside where it says in the event of death, handle final expenses and arrangements with my freedom of choice certificate. If not, call 1-800-433-3405. All right. Okay. Further down, you have your policy number. So let's say your policy number is 742 845 699. Okay, again, this is your policy number for American Income Life. Okay, not the policy number for any other insurance company that you might have a policy with. Okay, let's see your coverage amount. This is $500,000. Okay, we'll also need to know the location of your freedom of choice certificate in case your family member needs to access it when you pass away. So let's say this is your walk-in closet. Okay, at my family residence. Okay, your signature, the signature of the life insured or the policy holder. The policy holder is a life insured. Okay. Okay, make sure your signature is easy to reproduce, just like any other signature for yourself. Okay, but make sure it's sophisticated enough for um, or to give others a hard time when trying to copy it. Okay, so let's go ahead and type in the date. So let's say this is today's date, and today is October 10th. Okay, or excuse me, October 9th. So 09/10/2024. All right. So this is basically how you fill out your family information guide. On behalf of American Income Life, this is Obey. You have yourself a great day.